Are you interested in what a young Florida food forest and raised bed garden looks like in late winter, early spring? Stick around, we'll give you a tour.
Before Daisy gets going on the tour, I wanted to cover 3 things really quick. We're going to do one of these videos about every 3 months or so. So they're not going to be short. That's number 1. Number 2, you're going to see a bunch of stuff in here that we may or may not have already made videos about. If we've made a video about it already, then there'll be a link up there somewhere for anything we've done that for. There are other things that we know we haven't made a video about yet, but we're going to. If we make a video about something that's covered in one of these tours, we will generally go back and add the link up there as well. So, enjoy.
Welcome to our garden. We wanted to show you the garden in this time of year, which is late winter, early spring. We actually wanted to do it in the dead of winter, but it didn't happen. So the reason why we wanted to show you at this particular time is because the garden is actually most bare, so you can see what it looks like, and you can see it when it's least productive, and also this is also when you can see the bones of the garden better. The bones of the gardens are permanent structures such as trees, big trees, raised beds, statues, bird baths, and fountains. So permanent structures. I wanted to start off with and show you the section of the what we call fruit orchard. We have over 13 trees and counting on the right-hand side of the garden. And then Jonathan will take you on a tour of the vegetable side of the garden. Eventually, we wanted to this garden to also be part of a food forest. And a food forest includes 7 layers. You've got the canopy layer comprised of the large nut trees or fruit trees. We don't have anything large other than our big, giant magnolia trees. So that is our canopy layer. And then to make up our lower tree layer, we have, like I said, over 13 fruit-bearing trees. Most of them are little babies. And this is one of our fruit tree layer, the second layer of the food forest.
So what kind of tree is that?
Oh, this is a loquat tree. It is an evergreen tree. It gives you nice little Chinese or Japanese plum type stone fruit. And so we put this in the ground this past fall, which has been moved at least once already. We've added herbs around this ornamental pot, rosemaries and oreganos. They're evergreen. They should give the garden color when nothing else is growing.
And of course, we get herbs.
Yes. So this is our mulberry tree. This is a dwarf ever-bearing mulberry tree that was planted, let's see, when was it planted? It was planted last September, and there are 2 of them. Like I said, we've got 2, and when I first got them, they were in little 4-inch pots. And this was since last September. So they are a very fast grower. So we're excited about that.
And when do we expect to have usable fruit off of that?
I honestly do not know.
It's not a quick one, is it?
I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe 2-3 years.
I think 3 years is like the earliest for that one.
So the third layer of the food forest is the shrub layer. And so we've got blackberries here. We also have a video on how we planted these bare root blackberries. And we've got katuk.
I think it might be time to replace the katuk.
No.
That does not look alive at all.
Oh, look. There, it's green. There's green shoots. Okay. So this is katuk, and
Katuk grows really fast. We'll get more.
Yeah, Katuk, moringa's in there, but we don't know if it's gonna make it. And we've got banana trees here. We don't know if it's gonna make it, but hopefully this year, because of the wood chip, maybe it'll do better. So our next fruit tree is this fig tree. This fig tree was planted in September also. It is a Celeste variety. And over this way, we have a Mexicola Avacado tree. It is not looking so great right now, but that is okay. We're going to take care of it.
Avocado trees are finicky, and we don't know a whole lot about them yet.
Yeah.
Apparently it is not uncommon for their leaves to freak out like that, and we'll start a regimen of getting it back to a reasonable state now that it's warmed up a bit.
And throughout the garden, I have a place marker such as that. That is a future fruit tree. This particular one is going to be a persimmon tree. And the one that's behind Jonathan, I would like to plant a Barbados cranberry. So this is another Celeste that I grew from cuttings. So, and here is our Valencia Orange tree. We've had this one since 2012. This is our one of our first fruit trees that friends of ours have gifted us. They've gifted us 4 citrus trees. No, 3 citrus trees.
They gave us 4.
They gave us 4.
We've managed to not kill 2.
The other 2 we won't talk about.
We've abused these citrus trees quite a bit. They have not gotten maintenance over the past couple of years. And now that we're paying much more attention to our garden and yard, we will go through kind of rehabbing both this citrus tree and the navel on the other side, which we'll see later.
The new leaf seems to be doing well. It's much greener than the old ones, and it's bigger, so we want it to grow and produce. And here is our second mulberry. It's amazing how fast it has grown.
It did not have leaves on it like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. So right here are little babies, artichokes. So they would comprise the herbaceous layer.
Hey Daisy.
Yeah.
What's this weird looking stick you've got hanging out over here?
That is my future Bouganvilla tree. Yes, it is a, it's going to give us beautiful color. They won't give us anything to eat, but they'll give us beauty and color.
Thorns on those things are insane, so it might have an accident. We don't know yet.
So here are our 2 apple trees. This is the Anna, and that is the golden Dorsett. We also planted this over the winter. When exactly did we plant this? We plant this in January.
Say like January 5th or so, I think.
Yeah, it's January. We actually have a video that we did on planting these bare roots.
So we ordered these apple trees when we ordered the blackberries. We got all of those as bare root trees, and we have a video showing what bare root is and how to plant them.
Yep.
But if you look at that video and compare it to this one, all of the leaves and blossoms on these 2 apples have popped out in literally the last 2, maybe 3 weeks tops. These things were just sticks a couple of weeks ago.
Mm-hmm. And here is a papaya that is going to make it. I can see green buds. So it's around the same time frame, but it is interesting. Look at that papaya over there. It is actually a smaller papaya tree, but
behind the pot.
But it has maintained all its leaves. So there must be some sort of warmer microclimate in that particular area. So this one, it is taller and the stalk is thicker, but it lost all its leaves. And that is our lemongrass. I would say that's probably part of the herbaceous layer.
And that just got planted a couple days ago.
Yep. So here we have Jonathan's tomatillo, artichoke, tomatillo, and here is part of our rhizosphere or root layer. It is the potatoes. So they're in the ground.
Is that one of them coming up there that I see?
Yes, it is. So these are just normal potatoes.
Straight potatoes.
Yep. Grocery store, bought from the grocery store.
So a quick note about this, the tomatillos were going to go in the garden beds, but I had way more tomatoes and stuff survive my poor attempts at making seedlings than I expected. And the tomatillos are not a small plant, they get quite large.
Okay.
So we figured they would be okay with less nutrition and water out here in the landscape than in the beds. So all the tomatillos are scattered around our landscape, with the exception of a couple in the beds, and we'll just kind of see the differences between those.
So come down this way and I'll show you our ground cover that we're starting. So here are two of our ground covers. So ground covers are the 6th layer of the food forest. So this is Okinawa spinach, and these are strawberries. I believe these are
No, I believe they're Quinaults.
Yeah, Quinault. They are. They're ever.
Any American tribe that has that.
They're ever bearing, so they can essentially bear fruit year-round. So Okinawa spinach, we have 2 here. We got these cuttings, or actually little baby plants from a friend. Actually took cuttings, several cuttings, and I've now put them in the ground. So that serves as our ground cover. And the sweet potato.
Before you go off of that, so one of the things that we like to do is we are not always sure how things are going to do here. So we will often get things established in the bed, like those strawberries, and once they're happy in the bed and they start producing runners and having little offspring, then we will relocate those out into the landscape to eventually become more permanent fixtures. And chances are the same thing will happen with the Okinawa spinach.
Yep. And also for the ground cover as well as the rhizosphere or root, it's going to be in this bed. We're going to use this bed for our sweet potato. I am growing slips from the purple sweet potato. They're currently this tall right now, so it'll go in when it's a little, maybe 6 inches tall, and have some roots, and they're going to go here. Some will be probably put in the ground, and maybe another pot or so. Now for the vines, I'm going to let the sweet potato vines climb on here, but for the vine, we actually have this trellis that we built, my squash trellis. Here we go. This is our squash trellis. And right now we have 4 different varieties of squash that has been put in the ground, and I'm hoping that I did not put them too early. We've got the Seminole pumpkin, we've got butternut squash, we've got kaboka squash, and we've got acorn squash. So the same thing is repeated on the other side. So I'm so hopeful about this trellis.
And there are a handful of marigolds splattered in there as well as companion plants.
Yep. And then I'll take you over to the secret garden. So we'll walk back down this way. So I have, just want to let you know that I've actually have paths. So I've got paths to the far right, and then path on top of the raised beds. And I've got a path right here between these planting groups. So path over here, and a path on either side of this group, and a path here, and a path there that goes all the way back.
So, and just a note about the paths, is we found out during our cold snaps The wind follows our paths. That's why the papaya that Daisy was showing you earlier died, because it was at the end of one of those paths and would catch the wind. Whereas the one a few feet away was fine because the wind was channeled using the path to a different direction.
So here is one of the bones of the garden, the structure. And what's neat about this is it is solar fountain. Without the light, it doesn't bubble. But when you've got sunlight, it bubbles.
Good for Florida.
Yep.
So an extra thought about this is one of the reasons that I wanted this, and particularly why there's a little tiny fountain in it, is because birds in particular will eat tomatoes. And they don't eat the tomatoes because they're hungry, they eat the tomatoes because they're thirsty. So if you have running water near your tomatoes, the birds will hear the water and go for the water instead of the tomatoes. It's worked so far.
And just another herbaceous layer that's a native Florida plant is, this is a firebush, Hamelia patens, variety patens. It is native to Florida, and it's also great for treating fire ant bites. So, and a butterfly attractant. And over here we've got another artichoke, started from seed and fire spike, and more potatoes that's planted over here. And here's a patch of my arrowroot that I've cut to the ground, but the new shoots are coming up. And this is rosemary. And these two are original beds, garden beds. These...
let me intercept there. So these beds are old. They are falling apart. Yes, that is a ratchet strap holding that one bed together.
No!
That is on our plans of things to rebuild this year. We simply didn't have the time and money to address yet another bed last year. So we will get to that sometime this year and hopefully replace this one and make a duplicate on the other side of the garden to match it.
So these are actually tree collards. They're supposed to be purple tree collards, but I do not see any hint of purple in this. But I'm just happy that they grew from seeds, and whether they're purple or not, I'm thrilled that they're growing, and we are going to be harvesting the leaves throughout they are a perennial vegetable, and this is also a perennial vegetable also. It is walking onions that we got from a friend of ours. So excited about that. We've just got this one patch, but we're planning on taking them out and putting them into the grounds. And here are my Okinawa spinach that I've put in this bed just to help it grow. And
just to get more going.
Yeah. Once it grows and becomes strong and branch out, I'll probably make cuttings and put them throughout the ground. That is mint. Mint is an invasive plant. You don't want to grow it in the ground or even grow it in the bed and let it spread all over the bed. One of the best ways to contain this very aggressive plant is to put it in a container by itself inside the bed.
And for methods on trimming mint, just cut it off. It's fine, it'll come back. You can chop it all the time.
So here is a Kaffir lime tree that I got from my mother, and the leaves are used in cooking, in Southeast Asian cooking, in Thai, Cambodian, Vietnamese cuisine, and it's edible. So I use this even in American cuisines. When they call for bay leaves and I don't have bay leaves, this is what I use.
So we're back almost where we started, and now we'll go through the vegetable side instead of the orchard side. So Daisy has already talked about the squash trellis that we built. We have a video on how to build that, and we hope to have lots more videos about what it looks like with squash on it. Our squash got planted not in the cold, but they did get hit a little bit. So if they don't pick up really soon, we'll just plant more seeds. We also have some sunflower hanging out here. Those will be nice once they pop up. And our other citrus tree, this is a Navel Orange. It is the same age as the Valencia that we looked at earlier. We will be having a video on pruning these and general maintenance and upkeep. So this first bed, low bed 4, is primarily the tomato bed. So all of these little tomatoes that we have down here, they are going to run up all of these strings. If I have to do a Florida weave for some of them as well, I have the ability to do that with this trellis, which is one of the reasons why this trellis is the way it is and not like the other ones. Most of the other stuff in this bed is what has come through winter. So we've got a lot of radishes in there, some carrots. We started some arugula down at the bottom there that's very small, just to kind of succession plant and keep us in some form of lettuce. We have some lettuces and other things like that, and then a bunch of different varieties of basil and some other miscellaneous stuff down at the end there. So this next bed, this is what we call bed 3, is the cucumber bed. And that's why it is mostly bare. It is getting lots of cucumbers started today. We're basically going to plant 2 square foot at each end at a time, and then succession plant. Cucumbers do tend to flush very quickly, and how long they hang on seems to be dependent on how much pest pressure they get. There's also a little tomato way down at the end there, some leftover carrots in the middle and down here, and then this is also our garlic bed. So all of that is garlic all down the side there. It keeps getting healthier and healthier, so that'll be interesting to see how that turns out. This is bed 2. Low bed 2, which has a half trellis instead of a full trellis. And right now it is loaded with peas. This is essentially going to be our pea and bean trellis. And I thought the peas would be well done by now, but they just keep refusing to die, and they keep making more peas. So we leave them and we keep eating them. Even the ones that won't attach to the trellis, because they are very unruly. But they're doing fine, so we keep them. And then we have our leftover lettuce bed. So we were going to pull this out, but it is one of the few things that is flowering regularly and consistently. And as you can see, there's a great big old bumblebee on that one. So we are going to leave the ones that are going to seed, pull out the rest, and start planting our summer squash in this bed. And as these leafy greens fade out, we'll pull them so that there's less competition with the summer squash, or the summer squash will shade them and we'll yank them out. We also have our final citrus, which is our Meyer Lemon, with one little dehydrated lemon on there that has to come off. Thank you. So picking up with low bed number 1, this is going to be corn in this chunk right here. That is all going to be corn, because corn has to be planted in blocks so that they will fertilize each other. And then we have a wildflower mix down here. Let me move so that I'm not all shadow. And this is just to keep some kind of flowers around. We wanted a decent amount of flowers near the big bed that we'll get to in just a minute. And then we have some kale, and we've already talked a little bit about our strawberries and the Okinawa spinach. But you'll see there is also a trellis here. Right now it has one remaining pea who should be done, but he keeps going as well, just like the others. This is going to become watermelon trellis. That is pretty much the whole point of this piece of trellis. We like our watermelons. And then we get to the big bed. We have some more tomatillos. I'd mentioned earlier that we have a few in the big bed. They are here. We have a little jalapeno pepper over there, some coriander / cilantro left over, some rosemary. This is basically kind of like the salsa area. If we go down here, we have some parsley, we have some onions, we have some leftover broccoli. We are probably going to let that go to seed and get us some broccoli seeds for next year. We have carrots left over. You'll find carrots kind of all over the place, which is very good for us. We do like our carrots. and we try to succession plant those. And then we have dill. Dill is incredibly useful, and had a really hard time growing that last year, and it only just started doing well, so we're going to see how long it lasts there. We got our butterfly peas started there. I forgot what else you had. Oh, wing beans in the back. So this arched trellis, this is the small trellis. This is the first one that we put up, and it is significantly higher than the other trellis because Daisy can't really reach the top of this one, but it's also much narrower. So it just kind of shows the difference between how you can set up the trellises if you want to. And then we have a few other little odds and ends in here. We haven't really started loading up this bed yet, but you can see that we do have a bunch of stuff that seeds have been planted a few days ago, but we are not there yet. But you'll also notice our worm buckets. So these are worm bin / compost buckets. We are composting in the beds, and hopefully that will be a lot easier and faster.
We hope that you liked the tour and perhaps maybe found it useful so that you can actually do some of it in your own garden.
And we know this is significantly longer than most of our videos. If you made it this far, then great, thanks.
If you saw something in the tour that we didn't cover or overlooked and you want to know more, feel free to leave a comment and let us know, and we'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
One last note, since this is a little less formal than some of our videos, we don't like to push too hard with the whole like and subscribe and hit the notification thing, but I wanted to talk really quick about that. It does help a lot if we have likes. So if you haven't yet, go click that little thumb down there. Okay, thanks for watching. See you next time.
These little sticks here, they're actually jalapeno peppers that actually overwintered.
That's not good.